all kind of fell into place.
Right. Shit. Um, and then we replaced a great strong safety with Huff. Like it's all been he's been not doing nothing but great things. And everybody wanted to hate on or thought that there was tension between Kyle and Lynch, and it seems like they just been in perfect harmony every year.
Yeah.
There's all these reports they hate each other, and he's like, "No, we don't hate each other. We're all good."
No,
All right,
shot. Iron sharpens iron, man.
I know. Let's get this thing started.
Let's go, let's go!
What up? What up? What up? Welcome to Straight Shooting with the Boys. Our first episode in 2023.
Yes, sir.
I just saw obviously we all just saw the Debo picture. I forgot to mention that Debo coming back this week. He's playing. He's playing this week.
Yeah, yeah.
And Elijah Mitchell playing this week.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to see, even if they are on I think they'll probably be on a snap count or something. But just to get them their pads warmed up a little bit and kind of give the playoffs a glimpse of what they're coming into.
especially with the possibility of having the bye. I think putting Debo out there for even like a quarter would be perfect.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this. We got the Arizona team this week. I'm not even going to call them the Cardinals. It's the Arizona team right now. They look awful.
Team? I don't know.
Just some players, wearing the same uniform.
Yeah.
We talked about this throughout the week a lot, actually. Who should play? Why should they play? I think that I think Kyle had pretty much said it already. Like they're playing to win the game. So I think it's going to be treated pretty much close to a regular game because we have to win to keep the second seed. Because I doubt the Vikings are going to lose. But I think the Vikings play at 10, right?
Yeah.
So if the Vikings lose before we start, and at halftime, like they go in and they see the score of the Philadelphia game, and the Philadelphia is killing them, I could see the second half nobody playing. I could see that.
Yeah. I think it will. I think it depends on the outcomes of the games. And like you said, we said it during the text messaging that the NFL is smart to not give us the opportunity to adjust to that. But like you said, I think halftime will be where we look at it and we adjust according to what's going on. I think Hurts is the he's supposed to play this week, is what I heard. The report was that he was practicing.
There's also a report that Lane Johnson, right? Yeah, he's back healthy too. So, or not healthy, but healthy enough to play.
Yeah.
Which he's like the Trent Williams of their offensive line. So I can see that making a big difference too. They're playing the Giants, right? Giants are saying they're playing their starters. We'll see how that actually goes.
Yeah.
Just be Fugazi.
Smoke skirts.
Yeah, we'll see how that actually goes. But the last time the Giants won a Super Bowl, was it last time or the time before that? It was last time.
I think it was the last time.
Yeah, when they last game of the season, they had nothing to play for, and they played everybody and lost. But then they ended up beating that same team in the Super Bowl. So it could do, them playing their starters, they could knock the Eagles out of the NFC East Championship and make them a wild card team. What that does for the Giants, they're going to be on the road regardless. What that does for them, though, they'll never play in a cold environment outdoor game.
Yeah.
So if they go to either of the cold environments, they'll be indoors. The only outdoor game that they will play is in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that could help them, and reason why they could be playing their starters.
True.
I was thinking about that the other day when we were texting. I forgot to mention that to you. Like, cause no one really wants to play in Philly.
Nah.
In January, it's too cold.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we kind of touched on it during the text messaging, just about matchups and stuff. So I mean, I could see it. I could see them going out there to win. Plus, I mean, he does have something to prove. He's potential comeback coach of the year for a reason. So I could see him going out there and at least giving it to him for a half and seeing how the game's kind of turning out, and then. And it does gauge matchups. If they do end up having to play Philly at some point during the playoffs, they can kind of see where they actually stand with that team. So I mean, I could see the first half of every game being competitive, everybody playing and everybody doing it, going out there and trying to win the game, and then depending on how the game's going, if it's a close game, I mean, they might play to win that game. So
Yeah. I think for us, as long as we get the 2 seed, that's fine. I think getting the 3 seed, I meant to tell you this too. Getting the 3 seed would have sucked because we would have had to fly. I think I did tell you this actually.
yeah,
We had to
yeah,
fly to
flying
Minnesota, play
back to
them,
back.
and then it's like, do you fly back to California? Do you stay out? Because then you got to fly to the East Coast,
Mhm.
and I think that would have been the worst case. Last year, played all road games. When we got to NFC Championship game, it just looked like the team was exhausted.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
I think
Banged up and
that
everything.
plays a yeah, and they came off and they played in Green Bay in like a 0-degree weather game. That
Yeah,
can't be fun. So I think this year
yeah,
getting 2 seed would be successful.
yeah.
Getting the 1 seed would be the best option. Obviously, playing everything at home would be great. Having a bye week would be awesome. But I think just mainly playing at home. I think right now the 49ers are the healthiest team in the league, which is crazy to think because at the beginning of the season, everybody was like, oh, here we go again. Oh, they're injured.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's they're healthy. They're the healthiest, and the one position that they thought was going to actually affect us actually made us better. So there's really not much going negatively for us. I mean, knock on wood. I kind of liked being the
Yeah.
underdog at least at times because then teams underestimated us. Now they know exactly what they're going into, and it's weird seeing even like the reports out there of like all the analysts and stuff like jumping on the ship with the Niners, like they're the team to beat, they're the most dangerous,
Yeah.
they're the most talented, blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, I kind of liked playing with that chip on my shoulder a little bit, but this team's so well coached that I don't think it affects them. Regardless whether it's negative or positive, I think it's they're gonna go out there, they're gonna play their game. So
Agreed. I think I think Kyle, for whatever reason, people think Kyle loses the locker room pretty much the last 2 years. I don't think he does. I think he has the heartbeat of the locker room. I think he understands his players. I think the
yeah,
players understand him. I think he's not the most well-spoken person in the public's eye, but he speaks a locker room language that they understand.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and everybody thinks, oh, he coaches them too hard. I think he coaches the players that I think he does coach hard, but I think the players he have understand, especially the leadership. I think the
yeah,
leadership understands like, oh, he coaches hard. I like it. We move on. Greg Popovich used to coach Tim Duncan like he was the last player on the bench. What that does is it makes everybody else fall in line. And I think that's the same thing that happens in this locker room. I think he coaches the best players as hard as possible. They acknowledge it and respect it. Everybody else can't say nothing. Now I
yeah,
can't say nothing as the not Nick Bosa player. He coaches
yeah,
Nick Bosa
yeah.
hard. He gonna coach me hard. I gotta expect
Yeah,
that.
I have to
Um,
expect that at that point. Yeah, I think it trickles down. It was they had the same conversation about Harbaugh, and it was a success was similar. So I don't think you can question how you coach when you're winning games, you're getting into NFC championships and Super Bowls, and you're doing what you're
yeah.
doing. So
This
I let it
segment was
go
supposed to
for it.
be this segment was supposed to be about the Arizona team. We ain't talking about that, so I'm just gonna take that off. Did you? There was a report. There was a report that Harbaugh was talking to. Was it the Jets or Miami?
I think
I can't remember.
I think it was the Jet. Oh, I heard about the Jets for a
Was
second.
it
I
the
heard
Jets? Okay, it's
he
the
had a
Jets.
couple. Yeah,
And then there's a report that came out that him and Michigan might get in trouble for recruiting during the COVID or some shit like that. So he might be back in the NFL next year. I think he win. I think wherever he goes, he's a winner. I think if he goes, there was two options they gave. The Jets and the Denver Broncos were the two options that I heard. Either option, I think that he could take either team and win right away. I don't know why the Jets would want to leave Salah though, because
that's what I was gonna say. I think they have to give Salah at least one more season. I mean, he was playing for almost playoffs, if you know what I mean, and
yeah.
it came down to quarterback play. So they got to at least see if they can get him to get a quarterback
But
over them.
the last time he got a bust quarterback, turned that career around. So that could be what they're going with. Like, hey,
True.
he could turn Zach Wilson around. He showed it with Alex Smith. Maybe that's what their thought is. Either way,
And,
and both those teams have bad quarterbacks, not bad quarterbacks, but quarterbacks they expected to be the
yeah,
future that aren't playing well.
Yeah.
I would like to see him back in the NFL. I hated that the 49ers fired him.
Yeah, no, I wasn't happy about that either. The Denver Broncos is intriguing though, because you still got Russ. I mean, he's played against Russ too, so he knows what Russ. What?
There was two things I meant to mention to you today, and I didn't put on the list. Actually, okay, so we just mentioned the Salah one. He could get fired or maybe fired. I don't know. But then the other one was that Sean Payton and Tom Brady are still going to Miami. So that would mean that Mike McDaniel's out. Next year, we could see San Francisco with Mike McDaniel at offensive coordinator and Robert Saleh as defensive coordinator.
Shit. I'd be good with. I'd be good with that. At that point, what do they have to lose? You're depending on what we do this season. If they lose their positions to other people, like get your asses right back in line. Jump back in here. The players already know you guys. You know what I mean? Like it.
But both of those coaches were one is
Winning.
still in the cut. One of them is still in the playoffs, I think, and the other one is barely got out of the playoffs.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't get rid of either one of those coaches. They both look good.
that's what I'm saying. And in Miami, when they were clicking, and same with New York. So they did what you almost expected them to do, right? So Miami, McDaniels came in there, offense looked crazy. They were scoring points. They were moving the ball. It was insane. Salah on the other end came in. They had one of the best defenses in the league. So like they came as coordinators for those types of things, and they did exactly that. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to expect that part of it. And then on the other side of the ball, yeah, maybe they weren't performing the way that they should, but you get a couple positions put in there, like you're looking at a whole different thing, or you get a coordinator hired that knows that side of the ball. You know what I mean? And then it's a whole different thought process. So I don't know. I feel like the NFL is too quick to turn the page on coordinators turned coaches rather than like they're giving McDaniels another fucking season. Like what? Like that's the guy that should be out, even be discussed about his job right now. Not
now
these two.
The only reason why I could understand the Miami owner even thinking about it was if Tom Brady's coming, like it seems like that Miami team is only missing a quarterback, like because the only games they really lost are without Tua or with Tua not 100%. Mm-hmm. So you get Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's like, I'm only coming if he's coming. I can see that. I can understand that, and I can see that.
I can see that.
At the same time, it really sucks for Mike McDaniel because he's shown that he can be a great head coach. Right?
True.
Like, yeah, Tom Brady's coming, but how are all the players going to feel about that?
I've been hearing some reports that Tom Brady might be going to the Raiders, though.
And I saw that too because Josh McDaniel.
They're friends. Like they're actually like friends outside of football. Yeah. So I could see.
Dana White, the UFC president, said that a few years ago because him and Tom Brady are good
friends. He wanted to go
there. He was supposed to come to Vegas like 3 years ago too.
That was the famous quote of "You chose that."
It wasn't him.
I don't know.
It was Ryan Fitzpatrick. It came out at the beginning of this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick even acknowledged it on Amazon Prime. He said Tom Brady hates him apparently.
That everyone thinks Tom Brady is talking about them though, and every quarterback out there that he had ties to, Jimmy, the same thing. Like
that's true, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, "Hey, I'm the only person that he's never came to the middle of the field to shake my hand."
True. I don't know. I could see it being Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I could understand why Ryan Fitzpatrick said that too. Like, Ryan Fitzpatrick's never been that guy, right? But Derek Carr, he's been a really good player for a lot of years. I don't know. Maybe it could have been him. It could have been him, Jimmy G, or Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, could have been anybody.
Ryan Fitzpatrick did acknowledge it on Amazon Prime, though. He was not happy about it. What happened?
No, I'm saying I think everybody assumed at that point that it was. I think everybody looked at themselves in the mirror and was like, "Shit, was he talking about me?" Like I think every quarterback, because even the shit, if we're talking about Miami now, it could have been Tua. I mean, it could have been a lot of quarterbacks out there that I think probably looked at themselves like, fuck. Now that you say that, though, I can see it being Fitzpatrick. I remember their whole thing, them not having a really, like, they're not really
And
cool.
and the conversation that offseason was moving to Miami because that's where Giselle wanted to be. And then right after they get divorced, Giselle moves to Miami.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and it's all interesting shit. It's like a soap opera behind the scenes. So we talked about it a little bit, but the Giants are going to play their starters this week.
Yeah.
The last week of the season, they're going to play their starters, have nothing to play for except what we talked about. They could potentially knock Philly out of the number 1 seed, potentially knock them out of the division championship, and then they don't have to play in Philly. That's a good benefit, and to me, that would be a very good benefit. Not playing in Philly.
Yeah.
Philly is cold. Philly suck. Playing in Philly would suck as the opposing team.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of selfishly, I would like them to do that because I don't want the San Francisco 49ers to play in Philly. That would suck.
The thing is we've played almost every other team in the playoffs, right? Like for the most part, and I feel like if we don't have to travel to the East Coast, our fan base will travel pretty. Fan base will travel pretty well to any of the other places. So
I think Philly is the only one where it wouldn't travel very well too.
That's what I'm saying.
Philly fans are just as crazy as 49er fans.
That's what I'm saying. So I could see us not traveling too well to the East Coast in general, just because of the East Coast. Because if you ask, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Colin. Somebody was out there talking, and he was like, if you live anywhere near west of Minnesota, he's like Chicago, he's like the Niners are the team. Like they are the West Coast team of the favorite team. He's like any game you see the Niners go travel to, and they're anywhere on that side of this hemisphere, he's like it's more Niner fans than there's any other fans. He's like this team is the most liked team on the West Coast. He's like, so, he's like, this whole Dallas Cowboys is the America's team. He's like, tell the West Coast that. He's like, cause anything west of Chicago, he's like, you're going to see more Niner fans than any other fans. He's like, so they travel. That's why I'm like, if we play anybody else other than Philly, maybe like we don't play New York in New York, so we're not worried about that. But yeah, Philly's the only team that we would have to really travel to. Minnesota, but I'm not. Their field has never really historically been a difficult field to play on, at least fan base wise. So I'm not too worried about them. But yeah, we play in Dallas if we had to, or anywhere else. Like I don't see us struggling for our fan base or for just confidence wise.
Last year in the playoffs, the Dallas game it was like 50-50. It didn't look like it was very, very heavy Dallas team.
No, not at all.
I feel like the way they built that stadium is more of an attraction. It's not geared to home field advantage. It's geared to
it's to make money.
Yeah.
Like
where the Seahawks stadium is built toward it's a home field advantage. Like
they're trying to get their team. Yeah. Kansas City, same thing.
I think if if the 49ers get the number 1 seed, it's going to be very dangerous for every team in the playoffs. Even if we don't get the number 1 seed, I think it's still going to be very bad for every team in the playoffs. I think like Philly worried me for like 3 weeks. But I think everything that we do well enough. Everything that the Philly team is good at, like running the ball, we're a good run stopping team.
Yeah, and let's not. Everyone's flipping out about this game. Like we played Brandon Jacobs, who in my opinion is top 3 running back.
He had 60 yards.
He had 60 yards. So people are like, "Oh, he had a great game against the Niners." I'm like, 60 yards is a great game. Then fuck that. That's a good bar to reach for. But Miles Sanders is not.
And then they were saying the week before, like, oh, the Washington what's their team? Their name Commanders. They ran all over the 49ers. Brian Robinson had like 25 carries for like 65 yards. Like, nobody ran all over the 49ers.
Yeah, nobody's ran all over the Niners. But
the only reason it looked like the Raiders were running all over the 49ers because freaking Stidham kept getting he kept scrambling away and getting like 7, 8 yards.
Which that worried me a little bit. I did see a little bit, and it's common sense. If you have an aggressive defense, like you're gonna do the rollouts, you're gonna do the play actions, you're gonna run the ball they basically used our game plan against us essentially, and Stidham was making the throws, but
And there was no game plan. There was no game plan for a mobile quarterback.
yeah, exactly.
And
We
Bosa
couldn't have
said
even
it.
expected that.
Bosa came in his press conference like, "Yeah, we definitely underestimated him. Like we came in thinking we were just gonna smash him, and he came
Yeah,
out. He came out smacked us in the mouth too. So.
Stidham played a great game, so I'll give him that. Stidham played a great game and caught us off guard, but we needed that kind of game going into the playoffs, so I'm not even mad at it, to be
Yes.
honest. I would rather have that kind of game.
I mean, we were watching right next to each other, and I mean, we were stressed out. But I was more excited to see Purdy in those situations
Yep.
than I would have been to see the defense hold them to 3 points. Like
Yeah,
we haven't seen Purdy
that was the criticism that Purdy was getting. Purdy that was the game that I think unlocked people's. They opened their eyes a little bit about Purdy. I think everyone was saying the same thing. Like, yeah, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I kept hearing that. Purdy's doing what he's supposed to do. The defense is playing great games. They're shutting people out. He's scoring more points than the defense is scoring. Like that. That's the message that was being echoed, I think, in the NFL. And now they're like, oh wait, no, he can.
So,
he could go take that team. So
I was listening to some podcasts this last couple of days, and one thing that I heard, Brock Purdy came from Iowa State. I never heard of Iowa State. I didn't know Iowa State existed until Brock Purdy made me understand that it existed.
Yeah,
he was 7-10 in his career versus ranked teams.
Yeah, I watched Iowa State. Brees Hall came out of Iowa State too. So, that they were good. Like they were never that team. Like, you know what I mean? But they're always competitive. I think they're kind of like a Colorado and like other defense, the other teams that you don't hear a lot about, but they're always like 2-3 lost teams. Like they're not like horrible teams. Yeah, but they're just not. They're not they don't have the backing and the funding that Ohio State's and LSU's and those types of teams that are the big teams, big faces of the NCAA. It's just like the NFL. Like you get teams that are just backed by money. You know what I mean? And they're a little bit more out there. Like USC, I'm a USC fan, but for years USC was like they start off ranked like 10th, and I'm like, they lost like 4 games last season. How are we starting off ranked? I'll take it, but fuck, well, why are we ranked 10? And then we would lose 3-4 games again, and they'd drop down and still be in the top 25. And you got teams like Iowa State losing two games, and they're like, oh no, they're not even in the top 25. I'm like, what? Like, make this make sense, because they beat a fucking Oklahoma team. Like they beat a ranked top team, and they're not ranked right now. Like, what does that even? So college is a little weird.
I didn't realize that he was that good. Like I never heard of him, to be honest with you, until we drafted him. And even when we drafted him, I really didn't know him. I was like, he's the last pick of the draft. We ain't gonna keep him on a team probably. And then
I didn't know about him until we drafted him, or until the draft was coming up. For the most part, like every college draft, because I play fantasy in a keeper league where we're drafting like our rookies every season. So I always have to research all like the rookie players, and I had seen a few things on him, and they were saying had he came out the year before, he would have been drafted in like the 3rd round.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah,
but
if he would have.
Was what I didn't realize was that he I didn't realize he was 7-10. I also didn't realize he was like 10-2 in the Big 12 last year or something like that. And I just thought we would cut him. I didn't think he was going to be on the team. And then we watched the preseason, and I was like, "Yo, this dude like, he doesn't look the same as you would expect a 3rd string or borderline cut player to look like. He didn't look like that. Like when he played, I was like, oh shit, he throws the ball down the field. Like that's the one thing the first thing I noticed about him was he wasn't scared to let it rip. And in the preseason, and then we cut.
And he was athletic. That was another thing too. I liked about him is he's not like what you would think like the prototypical running quarterback like the Lamar Jackson fast, but he's fast enough. Like you've seen it in the Raider game. Like Max Crosby's barreling down on him, and he outruns Max Crosby and gets to the corner and throws the ball.
Makes a little move and gets away from the sack.
So he's athletic enough. He was like that in Iowa State though. I watched a lot of film on him. Then he did the same types of things there. He was never like that.
He has like the same shuttle speed as Russell Wilson does.
Yeah.
which is that was Russell Wilson's big thing. He was quick in the pocket to get away from the sacks. Like I hated playing against Russell Wilson because Alden Smith would be like barreling down on him and miss him
Yeah.
because
He
Russell
just,
Wilson
yeah.
is ridiculous. But they
Yeah.
said he had the same shutter speed. But I didn't realize that he was going to be good. I honestly didn't. And then
No,
when he
I
came into
don't
the
think,
game,
anybody did. Yeah. Yeah.
he's good. He's solid. He's good. I think he could be a franchise quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
granted,
Yeah. It's
he has.
definitely gonna create some controversy next season, but we'll let that's not a bad problem to have. So I'll let
Yeah,
that unfold.
that's true. So yeah, going into this next week, we're almost 100% healthy. We're like 98% healthy. We're missing obviously our right cornerback. But other than that, everybody's playing, and
Yeah.
that's big. Like we're probably the healthiest team in the league right now. Especially the teams that are going into the playoffs. Philly, you can see Philly,
Yeah.
they're struggling down the end right now because they're hurting. You got KC's missing their running back. KC's missing their number one wide receiver.
Hmm.
Um, all these teams are missing really big time players, and the 49ers are getting everybody back right now. This will be our first. This will be the first game in like 8 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever, that we have Elijah Mitchell back, which I think is a big play because he really is the one that bruises the defense.
Yeah.
Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey's not one that runs up the middle. So I'm excited to see what we do this week. I'm excited to see how we play in the playoffs too, because with Christian McCaffrey, with Elijah Mitchell, with Jordan Mason,
Mason, I was gonna
like
say he has to be
how do
done in
you
that too now.
how do you divvy up these and then you still got Debo too. So how do you divvy up the ball? Like there's like 8 legit players that we have to give the ball to.
That's the crazy thing. You really look at down the line, like you got, I won't even start from the obvious players. You got Ayuk, who would be a number one wide receiver in any other team, and no one even talks about this guy because
Right.
you got Debo, you got McCaffrey, you got George Kittle, you got all these all pro, just these stud people. But then you look at Ayuk, and it's like that dude's the best wide receiver, in my opinion, on our team. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about wide receiver, route running, speed, hands, even like he does drop some easy balls, but he makes some impressive catches at the same time. So he have to sure his hands a little bit more? Sure, that's something he can work in the off season. But for the most part, that dude's he's been clutch. Jawan Jennings is like somebody who's not talked about, but that dude gets open all the time. Like
All the
I see him
time.
catch balls and
Yes.
he's wide open. I'm like, something's going on there, and maybe it's just because he's an afterthought. Defenses are keying in on other players, but that's exactly what you want because Purdy is capable of walking down the line from all of his players. Like he's able to find those guys that are not being looked at as people who should be open. Like you're getting
Right.
like backup tight ends and other types of guys catching touchdowns, and you're like, how'd they get so open? It's because they're going down the line. They're saying, "Where's C-Mac? Okay, where's George Kittle? Now where's where's Debo? And Debo hasn't even been there. Like we're
That's true.
dominating teams on defenses, and Debo hasn't even been on the field. And that dude is a big piece of how we function on our offense. And to
I
Ray
think he's
Ray's
gonna because I'm sorry to cut you off, but
thing,
they've been talking about him. He signed a $25 million contract, and he hasn't had a good season. But at the beginning of the season, teams were eyeing him because last season he was our offense. This season he's not our offense. Like we can go
you know,
everywhere. So I think when he comes back, especially in the playoffs, I think he's gonna have more seams. I think he's gonna have
yeah,
more screens. I think the end arounds don't have to go to Debo. You could give anybody an end around now. Like you can give it to Gray, you can give it to Ayuk, you can give it to him, you give it to Ray. Like there's so many different pieces
yeah,
that can burn you for 50-yard gains. And we saw that last week in the fourth quarter. I think we had like
yeah,
three 50-yard plays, like in three different players. They weren't even the same player. So this team is like really, and then my favorite player, your worst. You hate him. McGlinchey hasn't given up a sack in 8 weeks. I hate McGlinchey. I don't hate him. I just really think we could have spent $10 million a whole different way.
yeah,
But he hasn't
yeah.
given a sack in 8 weeks. He played. He didn't even Crosby didn't even record a tackle last week, and he played on
True.
McGlinchey the whole game. Uh, I don't know. Like the weakness of the offense was the offensive line, which I don't think is a weakness right now.
No, no,
The weakness of the offense last season was we only had one playmaker. That's not a weakness right now.
and
The weakness,
injuries killed us.
the the weakness of the last 3 years has been our quarterback. That's not a weakness right now.
No.
I don't know. Like How
Yeah,
does the team how does the team stop this team? They're like, oh, they can't. There was 5 weeks ago. Like, oh, they can't run the ball anymore. They got Christian McCaffrey. They can't run the ball. Well, like the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've got 100 plus yards, 120 plus yards carrying.
yeah,
And then it's like, oh, well, the quarterback can't get the ball downfield. Well, then Brock Purdy's throwing 2 touchdown passes a game for the last whatever he's
yeah.
played, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. But that's not
Yeah,
a thing
he
anymore.
he already has more throws. I think I seen another statistic. Um, he has more throws of like 30 yards, like in the air, more than Jimmy did the entire career of Jimmy's
Yes.
Niners career. Like, and he's
Yes.
only played 6 games, 7 games. So it's crazy to think that he unlocks that potential. That was why we brought Trey. That's part of it is to be willing to throw those deep balls. Like, yeah, did he throw a bad pass on that Kittle pass? Sure. That pass shouldn't have been picked off. If he would have threw it down the middle of the field, it probably would have been a touchdown. But at the same time, like, you expect that to happen. From elite quarterbacks, you expect them to make some bad throws occasionally.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, if people are like, they want to overly criticize, like, oh, he threw 3 bad passes in this game. It's like, if you go back to watch Aaron Rodgers play the game before, or you go back and watch Tom Brady play against us, Tom Brady threw 3 bad passes, but you guys aren't saying he threw 3 bad passes. It's he only threw 3 bad passes and threw the red. Like, it's they're finding the negatives and they're extending them. Berto does it too. Berto, he's bad deep with the deep ball.
He's only played 5 games. He's only played 5 games.
Yeah.
He's on pace right now. 5 games. He would be on pace for 35 touchdowns and like 9 picks.
Yep.
Like,
and the pace, some of these interceptions, and granted, interceptions are a quarterback stat, and I know this goes around the league. Like, not every interception the quarterbacks throw are their faults, but I would say out of the interceptions he's thrown this year, maybe 3 or 4 of them were on him. Three of those, yeah. Well, yeah, but they're not. A lot of them weren't on him. Like, they were thrown where they needed to get thrown to. Like, yeah, and they got tipped, or that, the receiver didn't go up and grab it, or didn't. There was things that the receiver could have done to keep that from happening, and we've known it. It's been echoed to us our entire lives. Like, you're a receiver. If you get your hands on the ball, you got to catch it.
Catch the ball.
So
we're in the same group chat, and Berto said that Stidham played better than Purdy. Stidham surprised everybody. Stidham played better than what was expected. Stidham didn't play better than Purdy. Stidham had 2 turnovers. Stidham had 2 turnovers that he threw. He lost the game. He threw the deciding interception.
Yeah.
He didn't get sacked. He did surprise everybody. He surprised the 49ers. Shit, he probably surprised his own team. Like, he surprised everybody. He played greater than we expected him to play.
Yeah.
Purdy did exactly what was expected of him, did exactly what he's done. He led a minute 18 left. He led a 2-minute drive and got us in field goal range. That should have been a game winner, which Robbie Gould doesn't miss. Robbie Gould does not miss 40-yarders. It happened. Fuck, it happened. And I'm
not a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like that was a Vegas call personally. But I'll leave that there.
I see where people are coming from, where Stidham played good, but he didn't play better than Purdy.
The thing is Stidham had a better game than people expected him to have. That's just it.
Yeah.
If people have watched Carr, people have watched, and they expected that. There was a big controversy about benching Carr for the rest of the season. Stidham's coming in here without any starting experience. Like, it was almost the same conversation they were having about Purdy. The only difference is Purdy's on the Niners, and everyone wants to hate the Niners right now. So I've noticed Berto, and my response to it, I didn't get a response back from him, so I'm going to call him out on that. But my response was, didn't you say the same thing about Purdy? Like, Purdy had a great game, and it was nobody has video on this guy. Give him a couple weeks once he starts, and then once people get video and see how he plays, they're gonna start shutting him down. And I'm like, I could say the same thing about Stidham. Just because he's been in the league for 4 years doesn't mean people have video on him. He's never played. He's played a handful of games, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, like he's gotten on the field and did stuff where he had the offensive scheme to him. Like, so nobody has any video on this guy either. And we went into this game exactly what Bosa said, expecting to blow these people out, expecting to get the pressure and to get there. And Stidham did better than what everyone expected. But to say he outplayed Purdy is not really the truth because Purdy won the games. So Purdy took us
And our
Purdy,
defense didn't
Purdy
have
took
nothing to
us
do
down
with
the
that.
field. Purdy took us down the field twice and gave us opportunities to win the game. At the end of the game, we should have won the game there. Purdy brought us down the field and did that. He's the one that delivered those passes. It wasn't the run game that brought us down the field. He threw balls to Ayuk all the way down the
Over
field,
and
put us
over
in a
and over
position,
and over again. Yeah.
to kick us a goal. We missed it, and then the next time, yeah, our defense got
Stepped up
that
finally.
turnover. Bosa called game and said, "All right, I'm done," and,
Yeah.
and did what he had to do. But up until that point, our offense kept us in that position to be able to do that. So
Right. I
Purdy's
agree.
been playing a great fucking few weeks. He's doing his thing. He's doing what's expected of him, and even at times he's doing more than what I think
Was
anybody
expected.
expected him to do. And you can't chalk it up to nobody knows what he's about anymore because they've seen him play a game plan and try to stop this guy, and they still haven't done it. So
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. We're 5 weeks in now, 6 weeks in
yeah,
now. Like there's the game tapes out there and no one's stopping him. I think
yeah.
at this point we just have to
There's
say
no more
like
excuses.
he's a piece in the cog, as he says, but he's a good piece and
Yeah,
probably a better piece in the cog than we had previous. Unfortunately, because I wouldn't if we were down 10 points to the Raiders and Jimmy G was starting, I would not have been as comfortable with him coming back. But
I'm
since
sorry, but they said Tom Brady was a piece of the cog for years, and if Purdy's going to be a piece of the cog but get us fucking 8 Super Bowls, then fuck it. Call him what you want to call him what you want to call him, but he gets us some championships at the end of the year. They're still going to be chanting his name. So,
well, you had mentioned that Bosa called game. They took the voting down, or not voting, sorry, the betting odds down, because Bosa's leading so much, for defensive player of the year. So is it too early to give it to him, or is it like, yeah, this is his? I think we both called him to win it at the beginning of the season too.
yeah. I mean, we know what Bosa was coming with, and we knew what he had to bring to the table. Just because he's been consistently a stud, other than his injury year, like he's been getting better every season. So like the trend that he's going, like he's just going to continue to get better. It's just his work ethic, the way he plays, the way he goes. So yeah, so there's no way you could deny it at this point. People were trying to talk about Mika. Their defense has been giving up 30 plus points the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. Like you can't do that. Like sure, we did it against the Raiders. Okay, cool. But prior to that, our defense has been crazy, and Bosa has been a big piece of that. And you go to this game, and even with us giving up that many points, Bosa goes and becomes a big piece of why we win that game. So you can't, and a lot of people are like, well, Mika can be interchangeable. Bosa's just an edge rusher. Yes, he's a better edge rusher, but is he a better overall defensive player? You can't argue that anymore. That dude affects the entire flow of the game. He affects the entire flow of the defense. Like, sure, he's not playing linebacker. He doesn't have to. We don't need him to do that. We already have 3 stud linebackers. If we needed him to do that, that means we're not doing our job getting the linebackers we need to get. So yeah, he's able to do his job.
In the last 10 years, how many linebackers have won Defensive Player of the Year?
It's true.
I think none.
Yeah.
I think it's been either a cornerback or a defensive lineman.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's like he's had the biggest impact on the best defense all season. So
yeah. And I will say, and one thing I have said about him too, and what switches him, and it's very rare that it happens. I think like maybe JJ Watt is only the most recent one that I would say. He can play anywhere across that line of scrimmage and be just as effective. Like it doesn't matter left or right. Like every edge rusher in the league has a side that they favor, and they typically keep him on that side. They'll keep him to the left, they'll keep him to the right because that's the side they play better on. But you can put him on either side, and he affects the play the same way. You could put him in the middle of the field. They haven't had to do it this year often, but there's times where they line him up over guards, and he's still affecting the game the same way. So when you got a defensive player that you can line up anywhere on the line of scrimmage, that's more than being able to line him up at linebacker and being able to split him out and have him cover. Like, sure, that's great that Mika can do that. He's a fucking athlete. There's no question. Mika Parsons is a great athletic fucking guy, but to say that he's the best at his position, or even at his position, even let alone as a defensive player as a whole. Like you can't even argue that anymore. And there's nobody else in the league. Mika and Bosa is the only two I'm talking about. Everyone else is like there's a tier, and I would say Mika's up there, but he's still a step below Bosa.
It's funny you said that because I was listening to the Rich Eisen show earlier, and Stink was on it, and he said the same thing. He was like, "Yo, you can line Bosa anywhere on the line," and he called it like undeniable justice or whatever.
I think yeah.
It was a great saying, but it was hilarious the way he said it, and it was
I think I seen like a quick TikTok about it or something where they were like, "We liked how you used that word, like undeniable justice across the line of scrimmage." Yeah, I didn't see the full interview yet, but yeah, it's true.
It doesn't matter where you put him; he's gonna kill the person in front of him. Unfortunately. So it was a report came out today that D'Amico Ryans is going to be the most sought after coach for this next coaching cycle, which really stinks for the 49ers because we're going to go through our third defensive coordinator unless the Jets for some reason fire Saleh, which I would open arms accept him back.
Come on back.
But if he leaves, who do we put in that position? Do we put the passing game coordinator in there, or do we just find somebody else on the? I don't know. It's gonna be a tough pill to swallow, especially the switch from Saleh to D'Amico. It took Fred Warner another year to get back on the same page with his D coordinator.
True.
So we saw that last year. Fred Warner was not the normal Fred Warner last year. He was kind of hesitant last year. A lot of times he wasn't. This year he's like shot out of a can.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
And Greenlaw's even progressed a lot more under D'Amico than he was prior. So
yeah, so
it's definitely going to be a big blow. I'm sure. Like, but look at what Shanahan's done with his coordinators. Like, clearly, there's a reason why these coordinators are being sought after Shanahan brings them in. Shanahan knows what he's doing. He knows what guys to put where. So I'm sure he's already been thinking about that. Like the second they started talking to D'Amico about potential head coaching, I'm sure he started hitting up a few people or had people in mind that he's like, you know what, this guy's going to be a good coordinator, and I don't doubt he'll find the next one. That's 2D coordinators and an offensive coordinator at this point that he's put out there as head coaches. So it's I'm not worried about it. It sucks, and it's definitely going to be a big blow. And like you said, there could be an adjustment period, but I think I'm not stressed about it at this point. I'm confident Shanahan knows what he's doing. So
I think if we
and John Lynch is a defensive guy. So I mean, if he really wants to, I'm sure he can make a few calls.
I think if we do have to get another defensive coordinator, Saleh doesn't get fired for whatever reason. I don't know why they fire him, but if they don't fire him and they keep him, I think I would like to see a secondary coach. We've had 2 coaches that were linebackers, I think, by trade. I think I would like to see a secondary because our front seven is not something that is to be messed with.
No, and I feel like they're pretty much where they need to be. They don't really need any more like coaching. You know what I mean? Like
secondary's always been the place that's like struggled.
That's true.
Recently with Huff, I think I'd like to see that somebody that comes in with some secondary experience, expertise, and can help them grow because they're all going to be young next year.
Maybe Huff will make a call to Troy, see if he wants to step into
that'd be dope. But next year they're all going to be young because I doubt Gibson comes back. He's older.
Yeah, true.
I don't think Ward's coming back. So that means we're gonna have another young free safety, or we're gonna have to sign somebody. I doubt that. I think we're gonna have to draft somebody. And then
wasn't there some reports that they were talking about potentially re-signing Ward?
I haven't seen it. Maybe. I hope so. Shit. But if he does come back, does he come back as a free safety, or does he come back as a nickelback?
I don't know. That's where that would be the question. But I think at that point, anytime I feel like an old player usually transitions to safety. Like I think,
but he transitioned from safety to nickelback, and I feel like he might be a better nickelback than he was a free safety. And he was a great free safety.
That's true.
The reason I say that though is because as a free safety, he wasn't a game changer. When I say game changer, he didn't get the turnovers. As a nickelback, he's always around the ball for some reason.
That's true.
Interceptions and he's
because he was always a corner. He was even I think at one point he was a corner, right?
We
Thank you.
drafted him
Yeah,
as a nickelback.
yeah. So
We drafted his
I'm
rookie
like,
season. Remember his rookie season? He got toasted by Brandon Marshall
yeah,
for
yeah,
like 4
yeah.
touchdowns.
But I think
So
I
he's
think
pretty
he was
small.
naturally a corner. I think in our
Yeah,
defense he liked playing safety because he's aggressive and he likes to hit and he likes to be
he
able
likes to
to kind
tackle.
of
Yes.
he likes to be able to kind of fly around and do his thing. So I think it was naturally for him to go there. But I think he's a better corner, and I think if we bring him back, it's with that in mind. Like that's always been an important position. I feel like for us, when K1 was there, and now that Jimmy's there, I think it makes sense if we're going to resign him. Like that's
And
where you're going to play. We go
and
out where we sign him.
he's always been a good coverage guy too. So he's always been
Yeah.
able to man to man against the tight end or whatever he needed to do. So I
And
think if we
Tashawn's
get
playing good, but I feel like he's not doing anything that a lot of other safeties in the league could be doing. I don't want to say that like keep doing your thing, but I think he's a product of just the system with the
we
linebackers and
we
who
have
we have.
we have like 8 or 9 interceptions from our safeties this year. Last year we had like 2.
True, but I'm saying like a lot of those interceptions were balls that popped up in the air. It was like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it was almost like he was in the position
I
he
think
was in
he's
the
had
right place at the right time.
I think he's had 2 interceptions where it was off
He
a
was
tip.
yeah.
So last week with the errant throw, I'll call that a tip, but it was pretty much a
Yeah.
tip. And then the one against Kansas City where
Yeah.
Huff tipped it and he jumped in and caught it. Other than that, I think he was just in the right place at the right time. Like it's not like he's making he's not jumping routes or anything, but he's as a safety, you shouldn't be jumping routes. He should be
No,
the one
yeah.
catching the
He should be in the position. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I think there's safeties out there I'm sure that we can plug and play. Like Deshaun wasn't again
I
being
mean,
discussed as
if
like
we can get him back for not 7 million, if we can get him back for like 1 or 2 million, I
like
wouldn't
a
mind him
yeah,
coming back.
that's
Yeah,
true.
because
I know, yeah, for sure.
he's playing solid.
Mhm.
And then keep Ward if we can keep Ward and keep him at the inside corner, and
But that's
then
cool.
if
And then
hopefully next
and
hopefully
E-Man comes back
E-Man
and
comes back
healthy.
healthy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we need to draft another corner. Obviously, Lamore and Ambry Thomas aren't cutting it. So we need to
No.
draft a corner, or we need to sign a corner. I don't know which one, but whatever it is, we need to do it because
Yeah.
those two. That's always been the weak link is that opposite corner of
Yeah.
whoever's on the other side. So the year was Richard Sherman, I think. No, it was E-Man last year,
No,
and
yeah.
then they just picked on Thomas over and over again. And then this year it's Lamore. And they didn't pick on him until recently. They picked on him against Washington. They picked on him against the Raiders.
And I
And
think
the
our teams
difference
are looking at
is,
it. They're not throwing to Ward is the problem.
yeah, and the difference is he's in the right positions. He's not being beat. He's just not
No,
attacking the ball.
yeah.
Like Thomas was getting beat. Thomas was getting
Yeah.
like he actually there was a couple of instances where he was in the right spot and just didn't attack the ball too. Against what's his name that was playing for the Titans when they just kept throwing it up to him last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of what it was this week. They just kept throwing it up to
To
Lamore's
Adams, yeah.
side, and they
Yeah.
just kept catching it. It was like, God damn. Granted, the Raiders have 3 or 4 good riders, 2 or 3 good wide receivers, and then a tight end that's great too.
Yeah,
So
they weren't supposed to be as bad as they were. I know they still. You look at like 4 or 5 of their losses were one possession games. So
yeah,
I know like as much as I dislike the Raiders and I still think that they're a lot of pieces away from being competitive. They weren't a bad team this year. I think they're on the track that the Niners are on. There's a few pieces that they're missing and. Like we had a shit record, but a lot of those losses were like 3 points, 5 points. It was never like we were getting our asses kicked. I feel like that's what the Raiders are on right now. They're on that point where like they're not good enough to win games, but they're not bad
they're not good
either.
enough defensively. Their defense is bad.
No, yeah, their defense needs a lot of work. And honestly, it's their corners. It's again they're on that same that Niner thing. Their front seven, I feel like, is not bad. It's that the DBs that hurt them.
Yeah. I was looking at when I was watching the 49er game. I was like, bro, they should not have lost as many games they lost. I bet, like, I didn't watch as many Raider games as probably a Raider fan did, but I bet they were winning a lot of those games.
That's what I'm
And
saying. There was a few games that they were up.
it.
They were up in the fourth quarter and they lost. So
Yeah.
there's been a few
And
games that they were one
the person
possession games.
The person who got blamed for it was Derek Carr, so that's unfair. So we've seen a couple reports this week for some awards. McCaffrey possibly. I think he's either leading or potentially leading comeback player of the year. He was out for 2 years and then came back, not out like a league, but he was hurt.
Yeah.
Injury. They said he was injury prone.
Yeah,
I don't see
injury
that.
prone.
I think it's NFL, man. Like everybody gets injured. It's people. The 49er fans get all offended too. Like, another player tore his ACL. It's like, dude, it's the NFL. People are gonna get hurt. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. Like,
Yeah.
we need to fire our
I
staff. Like, no.
think he had one severe injury. I think outside of that, like I said, there was a lot of like lingering, like high ankle sprains and bruised this and that. It was a lot of like, sure, like it sat him out for a long time, but I've talked about it. I think I touched on it a few times, but it's a lot goes for like your mentality when you are buying into what you're playing for. The injuries don't feel the same that they do when you're not, and you're kind of checked out at that point. So I feel like a lot of those injuries that he didn't come back for probably could have came back for, but you got to preserve as a player, right? And as a longevity, like you got to preserve yourself. You can't go all out for a team that isn't doing the same.
Don't do anything.
Yeah. So
especially
like when
after you get paid, especially after you're set for money wise. Like his first 2 years of his contract, he was guaranteed. He's not like, no matter if I play or not, this money's guaranteed. So like for him, it's probably like we're not going to be in the playoffs. We're not got a chance to the Super Bowl.
And the team isn't doing their job by going out and getting the players we need to get to give me that opportunity. So at that point, like, yeah, he's not going to go out there and say it. Obviously, no player is going to go out there and go, I'm preserving myself. But you look at him now. There's times where I've seen him get banged up, and you're like, oh shit. In my head, I'm like, it's hard not to think that because of the past injury issues that he had. So I see him get hurt, and I see him like wobbly or he's shaking his leg, and I'm like, fuck. He better not be hurt. And then he goes out there and he runs for another 80 yards, and you're like, oh, okay, and he's fine. And so that's my thing. It's different. It's different.
I think it's hard to say a running back is injury prone. Like,
yeah,
they are in 25 car accidents games. Like,
there's no joke to get tackled. That's for sure.
Yeah, if he gets injured, it's because he's playing the most brutal position in the fucking game. Like he's got 12 people trying to hit him at all times.
I know. I was like, yeah, O-line. O-line. I played O-line and D-line, and I'm like, we're constantly hitting. We're always hitting. And then I played tight end for one season, and I get hit a few times, and I'm like, it's not fun getting tackled. It's a different type of hit. It's just it's different.
Offense and D-line is less.
Constant contact.
The amount of weight hitting each other. Yeah. It's a lot of force. However, when you're a running back and you have a safety that's running for 25 yards,
speed.
The amount of speed connecting is a lot different. So it's like
the force is different.
You have more constant contact between offense and defense, and it's more head to head too. It's like boom, boom.
Yeah,
foreheads are hitting each other.
There's definitely a lot more bangs and bruises when you're a lineman, but for sure, like the and it's just it's gravity. It's science, right? Like the amount of force and the amount of speed that they get to pick up when they get to hit you is different. And that's why I liked playing defense. I never had to worry about it, but. Yeah, it's definitely different. It doesn't feel great. It's not fun at all.
Hell no. All right, going on top of that though, Brock Purdy, is he up for Rookie of the Year? I think he should definitely be up for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. I don't think you have a question at this point. I think had the Jets kept playing and Hall didn't get hurt the way that he did, I think he was on pace for that. But because he got hurt and because of where they're at now at this point, I think now you have no question. You get a rookie, especially where he was drafted at and the position he was in, that takes your team to the playoffs. And now, I mean, because that's what people have to understand. When he came in, yeah, sure, he had all the pieces around him. Yes, he had the defense, but he had every means to lose us the playoffs. Like we could have, had he came in and not did what he's doing, we could have been eliminated from the playoffs altogether right now. So it's not like he didn't come in there and affect our opportunities. Now we're playing for a potential first seed where That wasn't even
And he
being
didn't.
mentioned a few weeks back. So it's
Yeah, and he didn't come in and let the defense win the games. He came in
no.
and
Yeah.
proved that he's a game changer. And
He's had
actually,
2 touchdowns a game.
since he's been in there, the offense has like went from averaging 23 points a game to averaging like 34 points a game. So like the
Yep.
offense is better with him in there. And then on top of that, we were probably going to be in the playoffs. I think we were tied with the Seahawks when he his first
Yeah.
start, or maybe I think we were tied with the Seahawks his first start. And then now we're possibly the number 1 seed, definitely the number 2 seed. It's like
Yeah.
I think there's no way that you don't give this man the rookie of the year. Like if you don't give this man rookie of the year, this is what he's doing historic, right?
Yeah.
If you don't give him rookie of the year, you're taking away from history. Like when you go back and look at this season, no
Yeah.
one will go back and look at Brock Purdy because he got no award
Yeah.
unless he wins the Super Bowl. But if you give him rookie of the year, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, Mr. Irrelevant came in week
Yeah.
11 or
Take
10
this
or
team.
whatever it
Yeah.
was, and then led this team and made this team better. And then it's like, so it's a historic thing too. So I think you have to add that. Like it can't just be like, oh well, this receiver had better stats. Like who cares about the stats at this point? Like there's history behind what Brock Purdy's doing. Like no
Exactly.
Mr. Irrelevant has ever done what he's doing. So it's like I think you have to give it to him just based off of
Yep.
history of what he's doing for the game. I think
True.
the guy looks the guy looks so normal. He doesn't even look like an NFL player.
What's funny is he's going to change the way that I mean, there's been quarterbacks that have done it, but he's going to change the way that people look at measurables. Like it's constantly happening. You see it every year that like measurables start to be looked at more and more. Like the Jamarcus Russell, I think, started it where he was like the prototypical, like he's fast, big hands, big bodies, big arm, all this stuff, and then he was garbage in the NFL. And you got even before him, you had Vince Young. You had all these guys that like they were looking at measurables opposed to what they did on the field. You know what I mean? And then you get guys like Purdy, guys like these guys that you didn't really expect to be that guy, right? And that's why you drafted him at the position you did. That's why they fall to where they fall, because he's not at a big school and he's not fast and he's not strong and he's not big and he doesn't have big hands and all this stuff that they look at. He's changing the way that now recruiters are gonna have to look. Like football translates, you know what I mean? Like the way you play on the field translates over. So it's
definitely
it's definitely historic. It's definitely a change, yeah.
Actually, the 49ers in general have changed the way I look at the the 4, 5, 6, 7.
The later rounds. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Good teams draft well in the later rounds, because the first couple of rounds they're almost like gimme picks. Like who you're going to pick at that point because of who they are, the teams that they played on, what they did. Like the first, I would say the first 40 to 50 picks, it's pretty like consensus. Everybody's expecting them to go within those picks. Like, sure, they swap around sometimes. Like, you get a guy that's supposed to be picked 4th and he's picked 10th. And, you have guys that kind of move, but for the most part, like the first 30, 40 picks are all consensus top 40 players. Like, you expected them to go in that position, where you get guys that
the only round I don't want to see the 49ers pick in is the 3rd round. We suck at the 3rd round.
I don't want to see pick
in the 3rd round.
In all honesty, unless it's like a top 5 pick, I don't even want to see us pick in the 1st round. We might as well just trade that shit down.
All of our first round picks, other than Kinlaw, which I don't even know, they might pick up Kinlaw's his 5th year. I don't know, but all of our first round picks have gotten an extension or got their 5th year picked up. The only one that we didn't extend was Defoe, and we traded him, and he got the biggest D tackle contract in history.
We had Solomon Thomas. We had.
Oh yeah. But did this? Yeah, they did pick him, huh? That was the first year over here. They were here. That's right. They did pick him. Okay, that's true.
But that being said, Solomon Thomas is actually looking pretty good over in the Jets right now. So.
I know. Maybe he just needed some time to go into his. I don't know. That's true. I forget about him. But we got Ayuk in the 1st round. We got Bosa in the 1st round, obviously. We got Bosa
was the only one. But I feel like even like Debo and Ayuk, they weren't expected to go in that round. He was picked in the 2nd round, yeah. But I'm saying like those guys that we got that were actually good they didn't even expect us to pick in those picks. So it was like other guys that were like, we're gonna go completely different, and they were like, Ayuk wasn't supposed to be a first round pick. He should have been drafted like high second. And we're like, no, this is the guy we want. You know what I mean? So
I do.
I feel like the guys that we picked that everyone expected us to pick ended up not really panning out the way that we wanted them to. I think they do a good job. That's what I'm saying. So there's guys that we picked in the first round that probably would have fallen to the second round. We just knew we wanted them. So that's why I'm like, do we really need a first round if it's not a top 5, like guaranteed they're going to be a stud type of pick? Then fucking
you get it for 5 years.
True. That's the only incentive is the contracts, but
for 5 years, And if they do pan out, they have to pan out. If they don't pan out, you get it for 5 years. It's not good. Look at McGlinchey's obviously doing pretty well this year, better than he started. But if you don't get him for 5 years and you have to pay $10 million for that 5th year, $15 million for that 5th year, and they're not that guy, like it's kind of stinks. But it seemed like everybody we picked up on the 5th year. We picked everybody the 5th year except Defoe, which we traded. And even Solomon we picked up on the 5th year, and he was actually pretty solid in 2019. He wasn't bad, 2019, and he was looking good in 2020 before he tore his ACL.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he just tore his ACL at the wrong time because he was starting. I think he was starting his 2020 after we traded Defoe, and he was looking pretty solid that first game. So maybe that was what it was. He just tore his ACL. Maybe Robert saw that and was like, all right, well, you're healthy now. Let me get you over here in the New York Jets. You'll be all right. But anyway, that's what it is, you know? Another reward that somebody's up for, Coach of the Year. We got Kyle Shanahan. He's the number 2 in the odds behind Dayball.
I get the reasoning, right? So this is the one I feel kind of strongly about. So I get the reasoning, right? You had the Giants, who you did not expect to be playing in the playoffs right now. You didn't expect them to even be anything. They had Saquon, and then what else did they have? Like they drafted a really great defensive end out of Oregon. That was cool.
Their receiver that got hurt. They had 2 receivers tear their ACL, but the first one.
They got the dude. They brought the guy over from
Carolina, right?
Yeah, but
Robbie Anderson. Yeah, he's solid.
Even then, no one was looking at this team like Daniel Jones, fucking that O-line, that defense. Like no one was looking at that team going like, oh, they're going to be competitive. So I get it, right? You take a team like that everyone's like they're going to be third, maybe in their division. And they go and they're playing for the play. Now they're in the playoffs. Like, great job. Applaud him for that. He's a great coach for sure. I like his demeanor. I like the way he plays, like the way he coaches games. Like I definitely do like him as a coach. But you take out what Shanahan dealt with from the time that he started this season to where he's at now, the injuries, the quarterback situation, all the different controversies, the pickup trade. I know that part of that was John Lynch, but I know part of that was Shanahan too. Shanahan doesn't let anything happen on the team that he doesn't play a part in. So you look at all these different pieces that he's done and all these different things he's done and how he's changed the way people call games. Like as much as you want to try to give McDaniels credit over in Miami, Shanahan's still doing it. so a lot of people were like, maybe it was McDaniels. No, it wasn't McDaniels. It was a combination of two. McDaniels is smart. Sure, he did a great job over in Miami, but anybody with Tyreek, Parker, both of our running backs that Shanahan went and got, by the way, all you get all these pieces. Of course, you're gonna at least look decent. You know what I mean? Like, sure, Tua played well under McDaniels, and Tua says it like McDaniels backed him up, and he's a player's coach. Like he doesn't even look like a normal coach. People make fun of him because they say he looks like the son of a dad that went out of town and he's driving the car around. Like he definitely doesn't look like a coach, and that's you guys you end up wanting to play for. But all that being said, like Shanahan's proven with what he did with this team, how he put people in the places that he did to be successful, and then on top of that, dealt with the coaching situation, not the coaching, the quarterback situation he's dealt with. Like, there's no way you can question Coach of the Year. Like, that's exactly what coaching is. Coaching isn't just taking a team that has some talent and making them look good. It's taking a team that should have every reason not to be great and continuing that route to them ending that season as a top 3 team. Like,
I agree with that. The only thing, okay, so I agree with you. I agree. I don't think Dayball should be the coach of the year. I think what Dayball did is awesome. I also think what dude in Philadelphia did also good, also great.
Yeah.
My point would be at the beginning of the season we started with Trey Lance, and then he had an offensive scheme for that. We obviously got injured the second game of the season. Went in with Jimmy G, had an offensive scheme for Jimmy G. Week 11, have an offensive scheme for now Brock Purdy. But everybody complains that Kyle Shanahan is an egomaniac. He's all about, I need to be the person in charge, right? I need to be the reason why we're winning these games. However, at the beginning of the season, and all the way up until like Brock Purdy started pretty much, he was allowing the defense to shine. He was doing what he needed to do to make the defense better. He was he was being complimentary, is what he always says, complimentary football. He wasn't taking shots downfield. He wasn't doing anything crazy. He was making sure that drives were extended. He was making sure we weren't going 3 and out, which we were the number 1 team in not going 3 and out. We had the least amount of 3 and outs up to that point, and I think still do. So he was making sure the defense was staying fresh. He was making sure that the defense was put in good positions to succeed. He wasn't doing in his bag, as we would say. Like, he wasn't being Kyle Shanahan aggressive offense. Like we were normally used to seeing, like 2019 when we win, we was like, oh man, he's aggressive. He was hitting different routes. Like some of the play calls, the one play call that didn't work a couple weeks ago, 4th and 1, where Juice pitched it. I haven't seen that play since 2019. So it's like he got aggressive now, right?
Yeah.
But the reason he got aggressive to me was he saw that the defense was struggling. He saw that the defense was getting beat now. So they weren't indestructible, and they weren't. So now he's like, okay, now I got to go put some points on the board. And it also happened that the quarterback in the game he trusted to do that.
Yeah, to be able to do that.
I think he's reading the field. He's reading his players, and he's able to navigate how he needs to coach. And doing that puts his players in the best position to win. I think he's the coach of the year for that reason, not for our record, not for. Also, we have a rookie at quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant. That also plays. That's a big asterisk, right? Our big bullet point right there. But I think his coaching has shown that he's the best coach in the NFL right now. I don't think he's just a great offensive mind. I think he's a great offensive coach, but he's also a great head coach, because as the head coach, he has to be able to see all my defense, my offense, my special teams.
Yeah.
He understands where he's at, and he understands where the game needs to go. Last week was a shootout. We haven't won a shootout since the game against the New Orleans Saints in 2019. Last week we won a shootout. We came back from behind, down 10. I haven't seen us come back from behind. Well, we did come back against the St. Louis Rams last year. Totally different. We own them. Those are our little kids. But I haven't seen us come back against a team like that. And that was throwing the ball. We weren't running the ball. Last year we came back, it was running the ball. This year we come back, he's throwing the ball. I think he's just a great coach. Like he's reading his team. I don't like the fact that they got on his case at the beginning of the season, like, oh, he's a slow starter. I don't care about starting slow. The Patriots never started fast. And they were in the playoffs every single year with a home game.
Yep.
Like, I'd rather be that than start off fast and then fizzle out like Philly is right now. Like, Philly's gonna go to the playoffs with a lot of
Dallas the same thing.
Yeah, I'd rather struggle at the beginning and get hot at the end.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go out and say that right now. If the Bucks play Dallas in the first round, I think Dallas is going out in the first round.
You're not the only person I heard saying that too.
I think Tom Brady's gonna send them home if they play them. If they don't play them, then they'll go out in the second round. But
everybody's saying the 49ers don't want to see the Packers, bro. You bring the Packers, bring the Packers
over. Yeah, bring the Packers over.
Aaron Rodgers has 4 touchdowns in 4 weeks. Like, come on, ain't no one worried about Aaron Rodgers right now. Aaron Rodgers ain't got nothing. No,
it's their defense. Their defense is showing up.
Yeah, he's got one receiver that he trusts. For sure. And they got a running game, but they ain't gonna have a running game against San Francisco.
Not against the Niners, no.
So I'm not worried about the Packers. Like the Packers could come, they're gonna get blasted, and they're gonna go back home. Aaron Rodgers knows it too, and that's why he's talking the way he's talking this week. He's like, yeah, we'll have the memories. Yeah, you
Yeah,
will have the
yeah,
memories
yeah, yeah.
of going to Santa
Exactly.
Clara and getting beat again. Like, come on, like no one's worried about that team.
Nah,
I hope we get the 2 seed would honestly be an easier seed for the 49ers to get to the NFC championship game because we'll play the Packers and then the week 2 or the second week we're gonna play the Vikings.
yeah, yeah.
As
I'm
well.
good with whatever. I'm not. In my opinion, there's nobody in the NFC that worries me. Philly was, like you said, at one point in the season where I was kind of like, all right, Philly might be the team to beat. But even then, like you
When
said, they're
Jimmy was a
fizzling out.
quarterback, yes. If Jimmy
Yeah,
was
yeah,
a
yeah,
quarterback,
100%.
absolutely. Because we can't
Yeah,
throw the ball. But with Brock Purdy, like, okay, stop the run. Now we're just gonna throw it down your throat.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
cares? I don't worry about that.
And
I honestly
as a scheme, you have to respect every player on the field. There's no more, let's watch the middle of the field and let them throw the sidelines. Like now you have to watch from sideline to
everybody.
sideline. You have to cover everybody. And if you do that, we're just going to give it to McCaffrey 20
And
times and he's going to.
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised when Debo comes back this week. I wouldn't be. I haven't seen it. I have never seen Kyle Shanahan run 4 wide receivers. I would not be surprised if we have 4 wide receivers out there this
With the
week.
way Ray Ray's playing too, I could definitely see that. Like
Exactly.
that. It would
I would
not.
not be. I would not be surprised to see 5 wide receivers because Christian McCaffrey is a wide receiver too. Don't get it
True.
twisted. He's a running back, but he's a wide receiver.
True. Kittle. Shit. It could get real scary real quick.
Exactly. I would not be surprised. This week we see a 5 wide receiver set. I haven't seen a 5 wide receiver set from Kyle Shanahan. I haven't. I wouldn't be surprised seeing it
I
this week.
could see that. I could see that. Not. I don't know that they. I don't think they'd pull it out this week. I think they might hold that
For the
stuff in the
playoffs,
pocket. Hold this the
if you
surprising
have
stuff in the pocket for the playoffs. But I can
if you
definitely
have a
see us
five
coming out our first
if you have
game.
say we have a 5 wide receiver set, right? And we put Christian McCaffrey in there, and we got Christian, we got Debo, we got Ayuk, we got uh uh third and one, and we have Ray in there. Like you could run the route tree with any one of those 5. Like it don't matter.
True.
Christian McCaffrey
I might even throw
over
Kittle out there.
who? Over Debo? I don't know
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think about it now. I'm like, shit. I don't know.
because
Maybe
if you
yeah.
have
Maybe,
Debo, if you have those 5 out there without Kittle, if you have those 5, the only person that doesn't have the speed to get away is Jennings,
true. But
right?
even then, he finds ways to get open. That's my thing. But
Exactly.
I think when you
That's the
line up and
that's
I don't know
that's
when you line up, I feel like Jennings is good in formations that you're not expecting him to run routes. I feel like if you line up in 5 receivers, he kind of becomes what he's good at. I think it eliminates that because now they're going to throw the ball. They're not running the ball with no running back. So at
I
that
mean, but
point, then
he's
he
good.
kind of,
He's really better at the third and longs. Like he's 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8. Those are third and him.
but I'm saying like in the formations that we line up, typically it's always like we on the third and longs we're lining up with still like 2 wide receiver sets. We bring it in and then Jennings goes and runs like a random ass post through the middle and he's wide open. So
Yeah.
I think
I think is there a team out there that has 5 good DBs to cover?
no, that's true. That's a good point.
I'm just saying, like he's gonna have the worst DB on him. Like he's not the
Yeah,
best
that's a good
receiver, so
point.
he's gonna have the
That's
worst,
true.
and he's gonna get open.
They might
Even if
even
you
have
just
a
do even if you even if
linebacker
you
on him
just
or something. Yeah, that's true.
even if you just do
True.
like a 5-yard choice route with him, like he can go in, out, whatever, and you have everybody else on it because Kyle's, you can scheme it. I don't know. You can have Debo run a go. You can have Ayuk run a go. You can have
True.
Christian McCaffrey run a go. You got Ray run a go. Like you can. I can get.
It
I
is,
don't
yeah.
know.
That's just so many fucking weapons. I don't know. It's just
And
crazy.
we've never seen it. I've never seen a 4 wide
No,
receiver set
I haven't
with Kyle
either.
Shanahan. So I'm just
That's
saying,
true.
like that could get really ridiculous. Like he has so many options on his, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it this week. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he saved it for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the person who put it all together is John Lynch, and he's the executive of the year, right? Like he has to be. I don't know,
Yeah.
but who do you pick over him and why? The only team that I can see, the only one that has a chance is the Philadelphia Eagles
Philadelphia
because
Eagles. That's one. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like, what did they do that was so special? Who did they go out and get that was like, oh yeah, that's the one right there? Because
Browns, but
the one for the 49ers, there's actually two for the 49ers. You went and got Christian McCaffrey, and there was a definite like, oh wow, since he got
yeah,
here, offense got better. And then there was
yeah,
Brock Purdy. We drafted him seventh round. Since he started, the offense got way better. I think we were averaging like 18 points a game before Christian McCaffrey. After he got there, we started averaging like 23.
true.
And then we get Brock Purdy and we go from like 23 to like 32 or something like that. So it's just like clear upgrades with two positions that he picked that he upgraded, right? And then we just talked about it earlier. Our interior line completely revamped from last year. We had a retired center. We had we had let our left guard go to the New York Jets, and then our right guard. I don't even remember who our right guard was last year. To be honest with you, it wasn't Brunskill, was it?
Right guard. No.
I don't remember who it was. Well, we all three are new this year. One's a
Yeah,
rookie,
yeah.
one's a long time like journeyman, and then the other one is a second year player we drafted last year.
Mhm.
And then who else? Who else do we put in there?
Shit, you can
Defensively,
just go against it. You can go on what he's done on defense as a whole. I mean, like leading into this year, it's like
signed
everything kind of came.
signed Gibson out of a save mark for the last week of
Yeah,
training camp,
yeah, that's gross. Yeah,
and then put Ward in he didn't put Ward in. I'm sure the
that was
D'Amico
a
did,
D'Amico
but
thing. Yeah,
yeah. And then we signed Tre'Davious Ward
hmm
in the offseason,
that was
which
huge.
was
That yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Who do you put in as executive of the year over him? Like,
Yeah,
how do you put somebody in
I
over
can't
him?
think of anybody who like player acquisition, right? Because that's really what you have to come. That's really at the like which the most you can kind of give to Lynch, because everything else could be attributed to the coaching staff or whatever. So
Hmm.
yeah, you look at player acquisition, you got Eagles with AJ Brown. That's it. So
Hmm.
and granted, yeah, that's huge,
All
but
right, that's a good one.
that was more just them trying to give Hurts an opportunity to see if he's that guy or not. I don't know that was like the
And
turning
I don't
point
think,
for the Eagles.
but I see, like, yeah, okay, they went and got AJ Brown. We went and got Christian McCaffrey. Okay, I get
Yeah,
that. But I don't think you could take AJ. I don't think they went out and got AJ Brown. I think the Titans came and gave them AJ Brown.
yeah, that's what I mean.
So,
It wasn't like a these are the positions that were hurt. Like, so I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. Like I'm breaking it down in my head as we talk about it, and I don't see there being another executive you can give it to over Lynch. Just the Travarius Ward and McCaffrey, just those two alone in itself, you almost have to give that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
they transformed both sides of the ball. Like they elevated it, because our weakness last year was our corners and our defense. There was no question that was the
and
case. And
it
then
came out. It came out that the Purdy pick was not made by, but it was like the person fighting for it was the area scout of that
yeah,
area.
yeah,
Scouts are part of the executive
Mhm.
team. They're not part of the coaching
True.
team.
No.
Like, I don't know. Like, you got to listen to your scouts, and he did, and he picked him.
You did? Yeah.
That wasn't a Kyle pick.
No,
That was a
no.
Lynch pick.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, how do you give it to anybody else? The only other executive I think is Philadelphia. Maybe Cincinnati, because they revamped their offensive line. But I don't. They went to the Super Bowl last year, so like,
yeah.
how
That's
do
what
you
I'm gonna
really
say.
say
I was
that
gonna say,
they're
how do you really say that? Because they're still. I mean, yeah, they made their team better, but we went to the NFC Championship last year. But it's the amount of what those players affected, like how drastically they affected the difference. You know what I mean? I don't feel like Cincinnati is that much different. They're better than they were last year on the offensive line front for sure, but they're not drastically different than they were the year before. I think this year on defense and on offense, adding those two players, it drastically changed. It's a big jump. It's not like a
yeah.
oh yeah,
Like,
now they have a little bit more
at
run
the
game, they have a little bit more. It's
at the beginning of the season, there was so many negative takes about the way that Lynch picked and the way that Lynch navigated free agency. Like he had to come out and say, "Yeah, we
Yeah,
did everything. We did everything we wanted to do. We had a plan. We went out and we executed our plan." Like I
executed it.
think that like the plan was successful. Like
Yep.
if they executed their plan to the exact way that they wanted it to go, like
It was
what
right.
other plan? What
Yeah,
other plan was it?
yeah.
Because the only other player that everybody was arguing for was J.C. Jackson. He only played like 4 games this season.
I know. Yeah,
And then people are complaining like, "Oh, your guard, your offensive guard and center is a weakness." Like it's not a weakness. It's one of the better
Banks.
offensive lines in the
Yeah,
league.
I was gonna
Like,
say Banks is one of the top offensive linemen and the center at that point. Like our
and then
weakness is our right tackle, but
your quarterback's a debate or a controversy. It's like, well, quarterback's not a controversy no more. Quarterback
yeah,
is he's got ice in
we
his
we
veins,
have a quarterback. Yes, exactly.
right?
We
Like,
have a quarterback. So there's. You're right.
oh,
Yeah, I
you
think you
guys
can
signed
criticize some of the moves he made and some of the misses he might have had throughout the years, but we're still in the NFC Championship last year. We're in a potential for our first seed this year. Like you can't argue. Maybe there was some misses of guys that they might have fit our scheme and that we should have went and got them, but you can't argue the fact that what he did was successful. You know what I mean? So like that's just not going to work. That's not going to play out for
I
anybody.
agree. I just think that he's did the he's did the most with what he was given. I think
Yeah,
he's far exceeded what any executive's done this year. I don't think it's even a question. I think it was a
yeah,
question when the Philadelphia Eagles were on their run because it's like, all right, they're gonna go undefeated. That's like hard to argue, but they come back to earth a little bit. Like Sirianni's not even in coach of the year question anymore. Like they kind of just left
yeah,
him out to dry. Like
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it. I just don't see who beats him out. Maybe if the Miami Dolphins had stayed on their run, you get them for getting Tyreek. But I don't
I
know.
still,
It's too,
yeah. I don't know. I feel like
it's too
that's the thing too. Is there's obvious picks, right? Like Tyreek's available, you go out and get Tyreek. That makes
right.
sense. You go out and get AJ Brown. It makes sense. Like people were questioning when we went and got McCaffrey. Why did they get McCaffrey? They
Exactly.
really didn't need it.
Why'd they give
They
up? Why'd
don't
they give
really
up
need a
four
running
picks for
back.
McCaffrey?
Yeah. They don't need a running back. McCaffrey is injury prone. Like there was all these questions about it, and then it panned out. So that's my thing. Is it's what you did, the moves you made that weren't and people didn't understand that played out to be genius moves. You know what I mean? Like that's where it
Exactly.
separates him from the other guys. Where it's an obvious thing. Like fucking AJ Brown was single handedly beating teams last year. He's available. Yeah, you go out and fucking get him.
He single-handedly
Beat
beat the
up, yeah.
49ers like by himself. Like they just
That's what I
you
was
just
good. That's what I was
you
gonna say,
just
but I didn't want to.
run
I didn't
20
want
yards,
to
run
shoot
20
my
to 30
heart.
yards, stand there, box that guy out, and we're gonna throw it to you
Yeah,
over
and I'm
there.
just gonna go up and grab it. And literally, I'm gonna go up and grab it. Like, it was
God,
annoying. It was annoying. It was frustrating. And then Tyreek Hill, best wide receiver in the league. I don't know if anybody can argue that. So it's like those are obvious picks, and people were praising them for getting those picks. So then you get those guys that are obvious, and then you get the guy who people were questioning. Why did they go out and get C-Mac, blah, 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 blah. And then it turns out how he affected our game versus how they affected theirs. Like, sure, they made their team better, but again, not drastically different to
than what
where
they were. Yeah.
than what they were. So yeah,
Like I think last year we were a scary team. Last year teams did not want to play the 49ers because they were going to beat you up.
we
This
caught
year,
we caught
this
heat at
year,
the right time last year.
this year teams don't want to play us because we're going to beat you up. On top of that, they don't
Yeah,
know how we're going to they don't know how the 49ers are going to beat them up. They
no.
might throw it over the top. They might throw it to Debo.
And
They
that's the
might
thing.
run it to
We're
Christian. They might
not
get Elijah in here.
with this
Might
quarterback
George
and with
Kittle
these
might have 6
players.
touchdowns. Who knows what's going to happen?
That's what I'm saying. With the players we have now, it's not. It's not. Shanahan doesn't have, like you said, Shanahan really doesn't have to pull stuff out of his ass anymore. Like he can go out there and he has to, he can, but it's not like mandatory. Where last year I feel like there was times where like his play calling is what won us some of those games. Some of those plays that you didn't expect to happen, they elevated the offense. They made us better. And now it's like because of what Lynch did and how they all shaped everything, it's like Shanahan can go out there and coach. He's already proven that, and he'll do it when he has to. But like you said, he can play complementary to what we have on the field, and we'll still be just beating people. Like it's not. Yeah, it's different.
I think for sure that I think for sure we're the number one team in the NFC. I think for sure he won the Executive of the Year. I doubt we'll win all of them because no one wants to see one team win all of them.
Yeah, and that would be the only reason why I feel like we don't, and I feel like they may give it to one or the other. I feel like Lynch, you could probably make a bigger argument over than Shanahan, only because there's a lot of coaches out there that are doing better than people expected. And that's what people are going to say is Shanahan's expected to win at this point because of how well he's coached historically versus the coaches that you didn't expect to do well and they're doing well. So I can see that only being the only argument against Shanahan versus you have to give it to Lynch. You have to chalk that up to he's just fucking a genius. but yeah, that would be the only thing. It's like you get that same type of treatment for the players, right? You get AJ Brown's expected to be a stud. Tyreek Hill's expected to be a stud. All these guys are expected to, so you don't praise those as much as you would praise the ones that are like, oh, he could be, he could not be. Like he's shown flashes, maybe and then he ends up being a star, like Mr. Irrelevant. Like those are the things that you have to like you talk about more than the ones that you're like, oh yeah, of course, fucking he's doing that. Like so
exactly. So last week we were watching the Raider game. Game's over. Our wives pull out the phones and it got real awkward. So the boys are headed to the playoffs apparently. So the wives did a little secret agent shit.
Yeah.
Sending us to the playoffs. So we're going to we don't know what game we're going to. Hopefully it'll be dope if it's this week. It'll be dope if it's the next week. Not this week, sorry. It'll be dope if it's the first week.
I'm good either way. I would love to see a Niners-Packers game in playoffs. That'd be fucking awesome. If we get a bye and we spend a little bit more money and we go to the next game, even fucking better. At this one, but I do want to go out there and say we were coming off of a high-intensity game. My reaction may not have been the reaction that I was expected to give, and I felt bad after the fact. I was excited. I've been thinking about that shit all week. Like I haven't been to a playoff game. I had
to answer questions for like the next 2 days. Like, why weren't you guys excited, bro? Like, I was exhausted.
You don't understand. I know we're not playing the game, but our emotions are as much playing that game as everybody else.
I was getting questioned. For my loyalty to Robbie Gould 5 minutes prior to getting told I was getting tickets. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I didn't say he was a bad kicker. I said I don't like Robbie Gould from 55. That's all I said. And then he missed it from 40, not 55. He's Gould from 40, not from 55. I got So look, it was a lot. They had their phones out. I don't think there was any content from that because we gave no reaction.
So yes. So I need to go on record and say I am juiced to be going to the playoffs. I can't wait to be a part of that. I haven't been a part of a playoff like this, and like I said, I think this year is going to be special. So just being able to be a part of this run, I'm excited about it. And then to watch Purdy, to watch his defense, like I know we've watched him during regular season, but the playoff vibes are just different. And like if we go against anybody, if we play the Packers, if we play the
Seahawks, game. This will be my first one. I never been to one. This is my first one, right? So I don't know.
Actually, I haven't been to a playoff game either. I've been to some big games, but not playoff games. So this is going to be the first time. So but I know like. It's just different. Like it's just kind of like it's the thought process is different. You know what I mean? And then the teams that we have a potential to play in these games are big rivalries. Like right, you got Green Bay, you got potential Seattle. You have if we have a bye, we're still going to go in and play somebody big at home. You know what I mean? So it's however you chalk it up, like it's going to be a big game. So I'm excited. I don't know. I'll say it right now. I don't know if she'll watch the video, but I apologize, Cassie. Deanna, thank you guys so much. I'm excited about this game, and
I was surprised that they had the. I was surprised that the teamwork it took. Like,
and Deanna's horrible at keeping secrets. She tells me my gifts the day after she buys them. Like it's never. I never know. It's never a surprise when I'm gonna get. So the fact that she was able to keep that on the wraps and get that day, like. It was incredible.
They could have picked a better time because 3 minutes after the Raider game was not the best time. I was still going
she told me the initial plan was to surprise us while we were on our podcast. The problem is Deanna's either at work they're never at home at the same time that we're
Oh,
doing the
okay,
podcast.
gotcha.
So then she was like, so we couldn't do that. She was like, so then we were gonna go to their house to watch the game. She was like, but then you threw the wrench in there and went and bought a bunch of meat. She was like, so then we're like, hey, we're gonna be at home, so let's invite them over here. It was like I think we threw wrenches in their plans, but
That's
yeah, so
hilarious.
bad timing, but great gift, great
That's
surprise,
awesome.
and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I definitely
So
want to
the
go out there and
boys,
represent. So
yeah, the boys will be at the game. Hopefully the weather's good, so we'll be tailgating. Hopefully.
yeah, we'll
But yeah,
see.
I
We'll
was
see what they play.
surprised. I was surprised. I was excited. I'm still a little shocked because I've never been to a
Yeah,
playoff game, so I don't know how to react. I don't know how to act. I mean, the last game we went to, we were pretty loud, so I imagine I'm gonna come home with no voice that day.
Oh no. Yeah, I've been to games where like rivalry games and stuff. Where my voice is completely gone by the end of the game. So I can only imagine playoffs and that vibe and that
Yeah,
experience. It's going to be
I would
insane.
love
So
for
yeah, I'm
I
ready.
would love for it to be Aaron Rodgers because I've never seen Aaron Rodgers play in person, and I
Neither
would
have
love to
I.
see him
That's what
play
I'm
in person
saying. I
before.
would not be mad at the second seed playing against Green Bay at home. That rivalry,
Yeah,
that type of environment, like I'd be juiced. That's I was like
that's how I
for
feel.
me being like like selfishly, like I'm like,
That's all.
let's take the second seed and go against Green Bay at home. Like fuck, I want to be there, but obviously for
I
the Niners,
agree.
we would like to buy. From the logical standpoint, we would like to buy. We would like home field advantage. That all that stuff is great, but if it can shake out any way other than that, then I want it to be Green Bay at home, us being there and us representing for the Niners, and yeah, that'd be pretty
I'll
badass.
be dope. I'm stoked, man. I am stoked. I am surprised at what happened. Cass is the same way. She can't keep secrets to save her life. She's also not the. I'm not gonna say that. She just never keeps a secret. Usually, I know what I'm getting because I'm usually purchasing it, or she's
Yeah,
asking me. She's
no,
like, "Hey,
Deanna's horrible.
would you
Deanna's
like
like
this?"
within a few minutes of purchasing it, she's like, I got you something, but I can't tell you. I can't tell you. And I'm like, you're gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me. It's not gonna be.
That's how she is.
I won't question you because I know you're gonna tell me eventually. Like it's gonna happen. I'll even have to ask her at this point. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wait, you'll give in.
That's how she is too. Usually it's like, or I'll buy her a gift like for Christmas or something, and she'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know we were getting each other a gift." Like, what are you talking about? Oh man, I always get you a gift. All right, whatever.
Uh,
But I was surprised. I'm still a little bit in shock at what they got. Like, I was not expecting that. Would never have expected that.
no, me neither.
Still got to work on the delivery of how to give a gift, but hey, it was awesome.
Great,
Hopefully we
great.
gave. I haven't seen the content, so I'm guessing we gave them no content because usually it would be posted on social
Yeah, it would
media.
have been
But
posted already. Yeah, for sure. For sure, it would have been
so,
posted. So yeah, I'm sure they were a little disappointed in our reaction, but
oh yeah, I heard it for 2 days. I know they were disappointed. I heard it for 2 days.
yeah.
But all right, man. Let's get out of here. So that's this week's episode of Straight Shooting with the boys.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
see
Yes,
y'all
sir.
next. We'll see y'all next week. We'll see y'all next week. Hopefully with the playoff preview. Hopefully with the game preview. If not the game preview, definitely a playoff preview. So we'll see what happens. We'll let y'all know at the end of this week. That's a wrap, guys.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Go Niners.